Hey guys, welcome back to Double the Hustle podcast. I'm Tori. And I'm Anna, and today we sit down with Sean Degnan, a leadership expert, a restaurant owner, and the co-founder of Ace Sanctuary, a men's mental health group. Come on, let's gain so much value. Come listen to it. Let's go.
We had Jalen Brunson in my restaurant like a month ago, and nobody knew until he left.
Wait, even the staff? Like,
Me, myself included.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
that's...
Wrestled in high school, so.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah.
That's really cool, though. Where's
Yeah.
your restaurant?
In Tarrytown, New York. Yeah.
What is it? What?
It's like a new American seafood restaurant, a lot
cool.
of Italian stuff.
All right.
It's literally right on the water underneath the Tappan Zee Bridge.
How did you get into it?
I grew up just around food. I got in trouble as a kid, and just, that was it. My parents were like, "You're going to work in a restaurant."
I work in a pizzeria. It's different than a restaurant. It's not like a full restaurant.
Yeah.
But I did it for like 4 years, and like I could literally run a pizzeria with my eyes closed, but I would never do it, even though I know how
Like
to
open
do it.
one
Like
from start?
because it is
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't recommend it. It's fun.
time-consuming, like
Yeah.
12-hour days.
I mean, our family tells us they've been in delis and restaurants their whole and they were like,
Yeah.
it's like dirty work, like the
It's
dirty
tough.
work. Yeah, it's like
It's tough
very
work,
grimy.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It definitely is. Well, thanks, Sean, for coming on. We're excited to have you, and for you to tell your story. Dave said that you would be a great person to have on the podcast, so I took his advice. So we're happy to have you here. If you could just start with like a brief story, just so everybody knows who you are and kind of what you do and how you got to where you are today.
For sure. I appreciate you guys having me on, and shout out to my boy Dave for the referral here. He's always helping me out, putting the best foot forward. So I appreciate my brother
It's awesome.
Dave hooking it up.
It's awesome when you have people like that in
100%.
general, just because it's always flowing.
They're
and
trying to
it's-
do the same, yeah.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, and that's what we do. We'll get into what I do for work and all that stuff. But my name's Sean Degnan. I'm a business owner, entrepreneur, if you will. Leadership expert, athlete, personal development, just junkie.
Cool.
I am a fiance, recently engaged,
Nice,
getting married in
congrats.
November.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's so fun.
Yeah, and I got my hands in a bunch of different things. Like I was just touching on, I'm a part owner of a restaurant. I'm the managing partner. I own a commercial cleaning company. And I also have a men's personal development business with Dave Regina.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Growing up, what was it like growing up? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so growing up, I'm from Westchester, New York, born and raised, and I didn't really go too far. I went to Springfield College in Massachusetts, played college football there for 4 years.
Dope.
Got in a ton of trouble growing up, and I was kind of a bad kid, if you will. I got arrested a bunch of times as a kid. It was a lot of fights and just a lot of stupid decisions. And, growing up in the household I was in, we were really a family of workers. And so anytime I was punished, I was just touching on this before we went live on the air here, it's like I was 13 years old and I got in trouble with a girl, and my parents were like, "You're going to go work in a restaurant." So that kind
was your
of
punishment.
was the starting point to me leading down this life of hospitality and my passion for food and all that stuff. It kind of came from getting in trouble. So, I grew up with two loving parents, a big Irish household. My parents both 1 of 7. I've got 3 siblings, 2 sisters, a brother, and, everyone's super close-knit and tight. But, we've struggled a lot, and, everything that I have in my life now, I've worked for. My siblings, same thing, and, we were really instilled that mindset from our parents growing up at a young age. This past...
Sounds like our household.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think it's something that you can use as a strength.
Yeah,
Some
no,
people
definitely.
start on third base. Other people start on first base,
Right.
But it doesn't really matter where you're at as long as you're willing to put that work in towards the goals that you're looking to achieve,
Yeah.
Just touching on family life. My father just passed about a year and a half ago.
Sorry to
Thank
hear
you.
that.
And that was kind of a pivotal moment in my life recently that's really just changed a lot. And it really puts into perspective what you have and the little time that you do have in life and what you're going to do with it.
Yeah.
So
It is. It's definitely hard. I feel like even for us, just like growing up, like we've had like so much loss that and I'm not, I don't like. Obviously, it sucks to like not have those people here, but like it makes you so like prone to it, and it's like
It makes
it's
you who the person you
scary,
are
and it
today,
makes you like who
literally.
you are because like if you're, we're prone to it and it just like happens, and it's almost scary because like some people are so prone to it that they're like numb to it, like in a sense. And it's like everything changes. Like nothing is the same. It's like, like having somebody in your entire life and just one day they're just gone, and it creates, a whole different path that like you have to go down in life and now heal from. And as you own the men's group that, a lot of people use to get help and, seek help in mental health changes, how they go about it. Like, I'm sure you can use that group to maybe ask those guys how to, get into it and how they dealt with loss. But it's just like something that like everybody goes through that just like completely like changes your whole world in the snap of fingers.
Yeah, totally. And grief is something it's different for everybody, right?
Yeah,
so
but
my
it's
grief
important.
process is going to be a lot different than your grief process.
Yeah.
I've got a girl that works on my team at the restaurant. 2 days ago, she came in and she was like, hey, I got to leave a little early tonight. I got to go see my grandma. She's in the hospital. I'm like, all right, no problem. Get out of here. Do what you got to do. Next day she comes in and I'm like, hey, how's your grandma doing? She's like, she passed away last night. And I'm like, oh man. She came to me separately and was like, I've never dealt with death. This is the first person in my life that I've ever had pass away. I've been to funerals, I've been to wakes, I've done all this stuff, but I've never felt this feeling. She's like, it's an empty feeling. It's something that's just new to her. It's foreign. And a lot of people, they don't deal with it, but eventually you will, right? Everyone will at some point.
You come to like a roadblock and it's just there.
Yep.
I heard someone say like, it's different when you're at a funeral if you're in the back, but it's different when you're in the front row. It like hits totally different.
Yeah.
Like when you go to funerals because like, your friend, someone, had passed away, pay your respects. But then when it's actually someone that's like sitting right next to you or supposed to be at the table, totally different.
It's an empty feeling for sure. It's something that I've really learned a different way to deal with this stuff because I grew up very similar. You guys, like I dealt with a lot of death from a young age.
Yeah.
And whether it be grandparents, friends, overdosing, like all this stuff, different, people in different walks of life that have passed. And I've never felt the way I felt when my father passed, obviously.
Right.
I had a good relationship with him and it was, that was new territory for me.
Exactly.
And, it's something I love to talk about as of late, as I'm learning how to deal with my emotions and cope with these skills that, it's suffering, it's
Like
pain.
you have to continue going on.
Yeah, you have to. But sometimes people, they crumble, right? And there's something there's two ways you could go about this. Is you let your emotions dictate your actions, or you let your actions dictate your emotions.
Right.
So Dave and I have a company, Action Cultivates Excellence, because we believe taking action on your life, taking action on the path that you want to go down is going to dictate your emotions. Don't let your emotions, fear, sadness, sorrow, whatever it is, keep you down as an anchor.
Right.
Let your actions dictate how you feel.
So you overcome it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people let, their emotions dictate their actions. I'm going to say probably 80% of people, maybe even higher than that, do, on a daily basis, whether they're dealing with death, depression, anything, it's such a big like mental health thing that if you led with action and just got up to do the different thing, whether that was get up to go work out, even if you don't want to, because it's going to make you happy. If you would just do that, your whole emotion changes, because of the action that you're doing, which is strong.
Yeah. And I relate a lot of this stuff to fitness because that's just what I've always known my whole life. I've been an athlete and I always relate just action as doing something physical. That's for me, that's what works. Sometimes it's just shooting a text, making that phone call that you don't want to make. And that's an action step, right?
Yeah, of course.
For me, I relate it to fitness. So if I'm struggling to get out of bed one morning and I'm saying, I'm tired, I'm sore, I'm this, I'm that, I don't want to go and do the thing, but I decide, I make a choice to go and do the thing.
Right.
That's going to change everything, my chemistry inside. That's going to change how I feel, right? My emotions, the endorphins, everything's going to be raised and I'm going to feel better. But I think where people fall short is they don't realize they have a choice.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Agreed. I don't think that people realize that they have a choice either because maybe of the mental block or they don't have that confidence in themselves to know that it has to be in here first before you could have it in the outer world, essentially. And I think that even us growing up, we lost our younger sister to cancer.
Sorry to hear that.
Probably like 5 years ago.
Yeah, almost 6 years ago.
And like that changed and I say this in a good way because that's changed like our whole message and our whole story. So even to you as somebody who you've lost so close to you, like a message to you, like it like could change everything now, you know, in a better way for you. As much as you don't want to look at it that way, like it's helped us start a foundation and fundraising for little kids who need that, or like it's just like our motivation every day, like to help our other sisters get to where they want to be or do things in her name that she would have liked to do as well, you know. So I think there's so much sadness that comes out of it, but like there's so much good that can
Totally.
Yeah, like if that didn't happen, we would not even be close to who the people we are,
today.
unfortunately.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate in a sense, obviously, because you don't want to lose whoever that person is. But have you ever hear the tale of the two twins? I was thinking about this because I was coming on the show.
No.
So the tale of the two twins, and this is relatable to anyone that's a sibling or grown up in the same household, whatever it is. So the tale of the two twins is, you grew up under the same roof, under the same circumstances. Let's use the example, you have I have no idea who you guys were raised or upbringing, anything, but let's just, for argument's sake, say you guys both grew up with a father that was an alcoholic and a drug addict, for argument's sake, right? You go down a path of success, you go get the degree, you get the job, you go do your thing. You follow your parent, you follow your father, you're a drug addict, you're an alcohol abuser, all this stuff. When I ask you, how'd you get to where you are today? How'd you get that degree, the job, all that stuff? You say, well, I had an alcoholic father. He abused drugs, right? This is what I used as my fuel to push me forward.
Exactly.
When I ask you, how'd you get to where you are? Why are you abusing alcohol, abusing drugs? You give me the same answer. And you say, well, I had an alcoholic father and he abused drugs, and so how could I be any different?
It was an excuse.
You guys are under the same roof, you're under the same circumstances, but you have two different perspectives. It's the choice, right? So you guys just talked about losing your sister. Fortunately, both of you took that as something that's going to push you forward, propel you to a better place, to do good, to impact other people. Other people sometimes take that and they go the opposite. They turn left instead of going straight, you know?
Yeah, that's a great
I wonder
point.
what that thing is, you know, in somebody that makes them like go left or go right. I mean, it's probably just mental strength that would have to, you know, think, or like some kind of mental switch that like isn't strong enough.
Well, I think it's emotional maturity.
True.
I think that's really like what I've come to find. Like if you ask me some of this stuff that I talk about now with my ACE guys, I wouldn't have given you this answer that I'm giving you now if it was 10 years ago when I was getting arrested for getting in fights and when I was doing all the stupid shit. I wouldn't have given you the same answer. I had to grow. I had to go through a lot of hard stuff in order to get where I'm at now. So you have to grow emotionally. You know?
And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is growing emotionally, maybe because they're scared of change, because it changes you drastically. You will not be like you said, you're not the same person that you were 10 years ago. You change tenfold when you gain, you know,
go through different experiences.
Emotional.
It's tough, I think, when you go through a trauma in your life, or you go through a tough situation. Like for me, I've hit a couple of rock bottoms in my life, and you know, I struggled with anxiety and depression for a long time, and I was hospitalized a few times for panic attacks. This was 10 years ago or so. And I hit those rock bottoms, and I sat there for one time, probably 3 months, where I was down in the dumps. I wasn't really working out. I was going to work every day. I was crying in the corner at work. And I'm this dude that I was a manager of a $35 million company when this was all going on. Nobody has any idea any of this is happening internally. Okay. But I hit my rock bottom, and after going through this crap for long enough, I said, damn, what am I going to do here? There's two choices. I stay down. I stay in my puddle of shit. I stay in my sorrow. I feel bad for myself. Or I climb myself out of the hole. There's only two options here. You have to learn. Sometimes you got to sit in that crap for a long time in order to say, all right, I'm done with this. I don't want to revisit this place again. I want to use this as fuel to get me to a better place.
They're both painful, just which hard you want to choose at the end of the day. So I think that's really crazy. Did you go from having a job and quitting your job to making your own companies?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
what was that?
Yeah.
What did you start with?
I graduated college in 2014, Springfield College. I got a business management degree, and I was working in the summer times throughout college down in the South Bronx.
Okay.
Hunts Point Produce Market. There was a local family that owned this company, and it was basically a large wholesale produce distribution company.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They distributed all throughout the world. It was an enormous company. I was working there. I was doing basically like all labor work, and I'm in the coolers, like 35-degree boxes, 40-degree boxes, moving fruit, vegetables, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was cool because it was a new world to me.
Yeah.
I did this, and I was about to graduate college, and I was like, what the hell am I going to do with my life?
Right.
You know, I'm 21 years old. I have no clue what I want to do. I know I want to make a ton of money.
Right.
I know I want to be
That's it.
successful.
Yeah.
In my world, climbing the ranks in that company was the quickest way to start
Which
doing
it is
that.
to a lot of people.
Totally. So I started doing that. And we started a new company. It was called Gotham Fresh. And as I graduated college, Dorigo Brothers, who was the larger company that owned it, said, hey, if you want to take this role, we're going to give you the foreman operations manager role. You're going to run this division. I said, awesome. Yeah. I'm 22 years old.
Yeah.
I take over this job, and there's people that are 40, 50 years old in this role for 20 years.
Yeah.
They know way more than I do about all the stuff that I'm trying to lead them on.
Yeah.
Right? So I did this for a long time. I failed a ton. I had no idea what I was doing as a leader. I thought that being the loud guy that I was in the locker room in football was going to translate to the workplace.
Okay.
It didn't. It did not, because you'll come to learn as you work with different people in different industries. The loudest guy, Jadakiss has a line, the loudest person's usually the softest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so true,
yeah.
because it's the guy that's barking, making all the noise, that is really the guy that's the insecure one, right?
Yeah,
He's projecting that stuff onto you. The person that's composed, the person that has their shit together, that can be friendly with people, that can lead with love, that can lead with respect, is the one that people will follow. They're not going to follow the guy barking all the time. They don't respect that guy.
Right.
So I did that for 9 years. And throughout that process, 2017, I was approached by a friend of mine from college, and he said, hey, I have no idea what you're doing right now. I haven't talked to you in a couple of years, but I have a feeling you're up to something. I'm like, what? So my boy Danny Mac. So we meet, and he was right. I was in the process of planning a painting company in 2016.
Okay.
I was about 2 months in. I had a business plan I was working on. I was, working on branding, all the stuff. We meet, and he's like, scratch this. He goes, I love this. He goes, but we're going to actually make a cleaning company. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? He goes, my grandfather had a cleaning company for 40 years. He's got all the industry connects.
Yeah.
He's got all the supplies that we should buy. Like, we're going to get into this. Just take this business plan, tweak it, tailor it to a cleaning company. I was like, all right, screw it.
Let's do it.
So we did it. Planned this company for about 9 months after the 2 months of me planning the other one.
Yep.
Almost a year in at this point, we launched the company. It was all-in-one solutions, commercial cleaning, or facility maintenance is really what it was.
Okay.
We wanted to be all-in-one of basically anything a building needed. So we're in this facility right now. You've got bathrooms, you've got a lawn outside, you've got a roof, you've got everything, right?
Yeah.
You got to clean inside. We wanted to be that service that did it all.
Oh, cool.
We started doing that, and we learned very quickly that you can't do
Can't do it all.
everything. We got good at one thing. We scaled down to cleaning. So we've had that company now for 7 years, going on 8 years, and it's been super successful. You know, and that was really my first intro to entrepreneurship and business ownership.
You do like restaurants and things like that. Like
commercial.
I'm just thinking like toiletries and stuff like that, or like actually like like when a restaurant needs like linens and
No, not that
not
stuff.
The actual cleaning.
It's the actual cleaning.
Gotcha.
So for me, when I started that company in 2017, from 2017 to 2020, about 2021 probably, I was on my hands and knees scrubbing. I was freaking getting the bathrooms, the toilets, all this stuff. I was doing all of it alongside my business partner. And we ended up growing this thing to where it's, fortunately, like I'm very hands off now with it.
Good.
awesome.
And it kind of runs itself.
Wow.
So it's in a good place, that company. And that was really my first intro to entrepreneurship. And that was
dope.
a couple of
really
years back
cool.
now.
That is cool. Our aunt and uncle are in the process of opening a cleaning business.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like a
down on
commercial
Long
cleaning.
Island,
Yeah.
commercial
Oh, cool.
cleaning company.
Awesome.
Which is really cool. What's like one thing that you've learned from like scaling that business? Like taking it from something that like didn't work to, because you have to go through that, and a lot of people think that they're going to get it like on the first shot, and that's not it. So like what's one thing you learned?
I'll share a funny story. So
Yeah.
I didn't even get my LLC yet for this company. And this was at the end of 2017.
Yeah.
And I got an email, and I signed up for this website. It was Home Advisor. I don't know if you ever heard of Home Advisor. It was basically like this website that people would go to get services for whatever they needed.
To find a service.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was on there as a Home Advisor Pro cleaning company, and they would send out these test emails to try and get you to sign up for like the premium packages and all that. They have the job scope. It's all real stuff, but they leave out the address and the contact info.
Okay.
One time they screwed up and they left the contact info there and the address, everything. I reach out to the guy without even looking up the address. I'm like, oh, it's in Manhattan. I go on, I reach out to him. He's like, all right, let's do this. He's like, can you come down on Monday? It was a holiday. Can't remember whatever holiday it was on that Monday. He's like, can you come down? He's like, I'm dying to get this work done. We can't get anyone to come and look at it on the holiday. I'm like, I'm there.
Yeah.
I was off from my other
Why
job.
not?
So I was like, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I get a t-shirt, like a polo like this, a black one, stitched, like everything in like 2 days. I go to this local place down the street from me, did it for me, just to like look like I was legit.
Professional, yeah.
I've never done any of this shit before. I plug it into my GPS for the first time. I have no idea where I'm going. I'm going to Manhattan. It's the Empire State Building.
Oh my God.
Holy shit. I'm going and I meet with this guy. It's 4 floors of LinkedIn's headquarters at the time.
Jesus.
And they wanted a full scope. It was like a $90,000 job and this whole thing. I get down, long story short, to the last 2 people in this thing. It was like a bidding war and they ended up going with another company. But this guy took me so serious because I presented myself in a certain light.
Yeah.
Wow,
Right?
that's
I've been doing this for a long time. Our families grew up in the business. I've been doing this since I was a kid. And I was totally lying, and I don't recommend doing this.
Do
but
it, but it got you.
Fake it
it
till
got
you make
me.
it sometimes,
It got me
you know?
in a different room, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
exactly.
boosted my confidence, and I was like, you know, maybe I could really start to do this.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
From that moment, back to your question, my long-winded answer is I needed to actually do the stuff now.
Yeah.
I needed to actually do the cleaning. I needed to actually be in the weeds with my team. I needed to learn stuff. That way, when I have questions at 12 o'clock at night, when the gas is still on at a restaurant, when they show up, what do they do? I know what to do in the situation now because
right.
I've done it myself.
Yeah.
You know, so I ended up taking my business partner and we would actually once a week go to a different job that we had. We had a lot of like, you know, 4 to 5 day a week accounts.
So that you knew what
So
to
I
do.
knew exactly what I was doing. You can't lead and speak on something that you don't know truly yourself. And I saw this in many industries that I was in where people were appointed to certain positions, but they've never done the work themselves.
Yeah.
You can't speak on it if you haven't experienced it.
Yeah. I think that's really true. And I feel like we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
Like owning a business, like you must know everything. Like even now I like working and running a whole pizzeria. Like I love everybody that works there, and the guy that owns it is so good to me. And I've learned to do like everything at the pizzeria, but the guy who owns it can't make a pizza if he had to. And I tell him all the time and I tease him and I'm like, one day you're going to have to learn because like if God forbid somebody calls out, you can't make a pizza.
Can you make a pizza?
I can make a pizza. Yeah. And I love it. It is my favorite thing to do. Honestly, like the pizzeria business, I love it to death. Like it is like it mentally challenges you like no other business does, just because like you probably know, but like Friday night at 6 o'clock when there's 40 people in your restaurant, your brain is like going and going and going.
Totally.
And it's so challenging to get those things. And I just love it. But it's so long and so like just so much energy gets pulled out of you. But you have to learn everything. Back to my point, like he can't make a pizza. So if somebody calls out, he is out of luck. You know, like he has to.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, it's not. And I think I learned that from seeing him. You know, he'll pick up the phone and call me and be like, "Can you work for 3 hours today?" Or you know, and sometimes I do when I can because I love it and I love to help him, obviously. But you have to know how to do everything. And I even stress that because when
we talk about that all the time.
I found that out, I was like, "Geez, like he can't do that." And my dad just opened a business, and I say to him all the time, like, make sure you know how to do everything. They just opened a cannabis dispensary on Long Island. And I'm like, make sure you know how to ring. Make sure you know how to just do everything because you can't be stopped
If someone's
at that
stuck,
point.
yeah.
You can't rely on other people.
You know you can show up.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah, it's, I think from my experience, I just made a comment, you can't rely on other people, but you actually need to rely on other people.
Yeah.
But that comes with building your team up.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
you can't
of
build your
course.
team up in the right way if you don't really know what you're talking about.
Right.
So.
Exactly. And I think it's really strong. And to turn that into leadership, I think that's what you have to do before you can lead.
You need to become a,
like you said,
learn to become a leader.
It's once you know what you're doing, you can teach people how to do it
Totally.
at that point.
Totally.
So now you've taken that and opened a leadership, company and done that way, which I think is so strong because now that's how you scale your business.
Yeah, totally. Leadership is everything.
Yeah.
And regardless of if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a mother at home, if you're a father, if you're a sibling, a friend, like leadership shows up everywhere in your life.
Yeah, it's true.
And if you're not able to lead yourself, you're not going to be able to lead others. And that's the one thing I think people need to understand is like, no one's going to follow you unless you're really leading a life yourself that you could say, yep, I'm doing what I said I'm going to do. I am who I say I am. I show up for myself. I challenge myself. I do the things that I want to do. And leadership will become a lot easier when you start to do that. When you're a fraud, when you're a phony, I did this for a long time. I just told you that I just bullshitted the guy at the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I did it because people liked me, right?
Yeah,
I made certain people believe me and like me. But eventually, if I didn't start doing the actual work and leading the life that I needed to live, it would have all imploded at some point.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So, that's the one thing I would recommend for everyone that's in a leadership role, again, as an entrepreneur, as a mother, a father, whatever it is, lead yourself first.
Yeah. I think I have like 2 points to go off that. Like one, I don't know if you've ever heard Mel Robbins, who she is?
Totally,
She just wrote the book, Let Them.
Yeah. My fiance is reading that right now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we're
I'm almost
right
done.
now too.
And so many people, it's so crazy. I've walked into so many people that are currently reading it. But she says, like in her book, we were talking about this before, how like you can't like push someone to change. You have to inspire them. And I think that's the same with leadership. Like if people are seeing you do it, they're more likely to want to do it than if you're like, go work out, you're fat, and like shaming somebody, like when you come at them with shame, they back up 10 feet further, you know?
Yep.
And then if you do it yourself, maybe that'll inspire them. And I think that's just the same with leadership.
Yeah, so I was listening to a podcast last week, and a lot of the stuff that you hear from me, from Dave, from a lot of the people I'm sure that you interview, we're not coming up with a lot of this stuff.
Of course,
we're relearning it. We're putting our own spin, our own twist on it.
Yeah.
And to get back to what you were just saying is that it's all rooted in fear.
Yeah.
And that's where it all comes down to is people are scared to go and lose the weight, go to the gym, go and ask that person out on a date. People are, whatever insert blank, they're rooted in fear.
Yeah.
So I listened to his podcast, and one of the quotes that I took from it, he had said, the heart whispers, fear shouts. So what does that mean if you break that down? Fear is the dominant emotion.
Right.
Love, the heart, passion, all that stuff is getting suppressed. It's getting pushed down. Fear is the overarching dominant emotion. That has to get flipped on its head.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to suppress fear or live with fear, live alongside fear. Let that whisper of love, of passion, of all this stuff,
Echo.
let that turn into the shout, not the whisper.
Yeah.
And that's the choice that we all have, that we can make. And people don't understand that. They let fear run their life because they're scared of what's going to happen on the other side. You're already living your worst nightmare.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You're already living it. If you have all these dreams, goals, aspirations, and you're not where you want to be, and you don't take any action on it, you're going to let fear
It's
win.
never gonna happen.
You're stuck
Yeah.
there. You're already living there. So what's the worst that's going to happen?
Exactly. Yeah. I agree with that. Where does somebody go to start that?
You look internal. You look inside. You reflect. That's where you have to start, because if you don't know yourself, you're not going to know what drives you. You're not going to know where you're falling short. These emotional vulnerabilities that you might have to address. This is the stuff we talk about at ACE all the time. We've got 3 pillars. It's the ORTs, outdoor resilience training. You go out, you do something hard. We have our VBDs, which is the gold of ACE, vulnerability breakthrough developments. You have these tough conversations. You look inside. We ask these guys a lot of tough questions that they need to address within themselves. They have to face those demons. That's the VBDs. And then you've got the ELTs. It's the expert-led trainings. You got to learn from other people, right? Oh, cool. So these are the three things that we believe to be the recipe for success to be the modern day leader. And this is not just for men. This is anyone. You know, but this is just what we do specific to men.
Going down.
So, you know, you have to reflect a lot, and it's an uncomfortable process.
It is, yeah. And a lot of people don't want to sacrifice, you know, what it takes to do that inside work because, you know, it's painful and, you know, it hurts. But I think that that's where they have to go, you know. And most people are like, I feel like there's two pains, right? The way that you can go to get better or the one that you're sitting in. But like people don't realize that what they're sitting in is pain as well. So they don't know to make the choice to just sit in the other pain, essentially.
So I always talk about like seeking uncomfortable situations and putting yourself in uncomfortable. Exactly. And it's something you'll hear all the time from a ton of different people.
Right.
You want to get into that point where you're uncomfortable because that's where you grow, right? Now, there's another great quote I heard on another podcast last week. It's from Dr. Jeremy Goldberg. And he says, I might butcher this, but he says, courage and bravery is when you don't know what the outcome is. You're uncertain of the outcome, and you're going to go and do it anyways.
Yeah.
Stupidity is the same thing.
It is.
That's why life is hard. So choosing stupidity versus courageousness and bravery, it's a very fine line.
Yep.
But you have to figure out when you start to know yourself a little bit more, that's when you're able to choose the right path. You know, so it's a difficult one, though.
Yeah. How do you think, I mean, there's so many, you know, is there something that you do like every day that like kind of helps you? Like you have ACE obviously and you have like these guys and the group that you're with, but obviously you can't be with that group every single day to support you. And maybe they're there over your phone or like on social media, but like is there something that you do every day to help you like stay like aligned with yourself and continue to be,
whether it be routine or something?
Yeah, totally. So I'm wearing a hat, actually, Creatures of Habit. Shout out to Michael Chernow. I'm a big creature of habit. Yeah. And, you know, I go through seasons in my life and different waves of, you know, things that I'm doing. And maybe it's for a couple months and then I stop or whatever. And that's always going to change for me. Right. But cold plunging is a big thing for me.
Okay, cool.
You know, I love putting myself in that cold water, getting uncomfortable. Yeah. I do a lot of breath work, meditation. You know, I work out every day, but the big thing is just faith and belief. I'm a man of God, and I'm someone that believes in a higher power. Yeah. And for me, and I don't know about for you guys, when you lost your sister, like what's going to pull you through that? Yeah. How do you get through that? Yeah. At some point, things don't make sense. Yeah, right. You know, there's the mystery of faith that the Bible talks about, that the church talks about, the mystery of faith. It's a very difficult thing because why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah. Right.
Why?
Yeah.
We really don't know, and you might not ever know, but you have to trust, you have to have faith.
Something better.
So I pray every day, you know, and that's something that for me has always helped me through the good, through the bad. And,
I think that's very strong because, you know, even we were talking about it yesterday, you know, about like just like prayer and like how to like keep going, you know, because and some, like you said, some days you're like, why did this happen to me? Yeah. But like at the same time, like you just have to believe that like this happened so that to make room for the bigger things. And I think that that's very strong.
Yeah, it is. No, for sure. I mean, another thing I failed to mention too. So I mentioned I was engaged, and one thing Jackie, my fiance, does every morning, we've got these 365-day cards, and every day there's a new card. And it's from the company We're Not Really Strangers. Okay. And it kind of comes full circle because when we were on our first date together, or second date, or whatever it was, we were in a car, and I bought these deck of cards, and it was these question prompts, and it's just deep internal thought questions that, you know, it really puts you in an uncomfortable situation sometimes, especially with a new girl you're dating. You know, you're talking about some really vulnerable stuff. we did that and we just hit it off and really connected. And now, 4 or 5 years later, she bought this deck of cards and it's a relationship geared one. And so every day
that's cool.
she scratches off a card and it's a question about, our relationship and how we can, whatever, relate it to us.
Something better. Yeah. That's
So
cool.
that's another thing we do every day. And it's a super intentional thing that, we do. It's just a quick little 5-minute thing.
Yeah.
But it's like a morning check-in, when we're having breakfast after our workout.
Yeah.
And it's something that helps us just stay grounded, remind each other that, we're with each other. We want to make sure we're working on our relationship,
which is
not just
cool.
letting it coast.
Yeah.
Which
That's
I
really
think
cool.
that's really big because a lot of people, it's sad to see like how many people just let their relationship like just coast along and
then fall apart.
not work on it daily or like be engaged with it even at all. Some people wake up every day and just it's the person they share a bed with, which is kind of it's sad, and I feel like it's becoming like more of a problem in our world today, whether that's because social
being
media
grateful or,
and seeing things that maybe you want and not thinking that you have it, but it's getting worse and you could like see it.
Yeah, we did something recently. This was last week actually, and I was like, hey, we got home and I work a lot.
Yeah.
And it's no secret that like I work too much.
Yeah.
In the restaurant industry, it's difficult.
course.
I'm there from 10 to 16 hours a day.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's brutal. It's a lot of work. I have my 2 other businesses that I have on top of that. I'm doing all this stuff for the future of my family with my fiance. Right. But that doesn't make it any easier in the moment, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult on her, and she does an amazing job at holding things together for us on the home front and, dealing with the tough times of me not being around that much. Yeah. And it's a very tough thing. But what we did the last week was I got home from work a little bit earlier than normal.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, let's have dinner.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is we're going to put our phone in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And we put it on the charger. And we spent 3 hours, 4 hours out in the living room without our phones.
Yeah.
It's a very intentional thing we did. And at the end of it, we were both like, wow, I really like that. It was like awesome.
Yeah.
You're spending time with the person, and that.
You see people now like at the table.
Totally.
Like
I'm no angel. Like
Of course,
I do it
because-
sometimes too,
of
and
course.
you have to remind yourself. But
At the same time.
yeah.
Yeah, but like as an entrepreneur, sometimes you don't realize how much you work. And like you're doing that. You're like, oh shit, let me get this deal quick while you're at the diner. And then
Right now, I'm sitting here with you guys. I didn't leave my phone in my pocket on purpose. It's over there next to Mike Press because it's on silent because it's going to be going off. Guarantee when I get my messages after this, there's 40 texts, there's missed calls, everything.
Yeah.
I can't deal with that right now.
And
I have to be present here.
It's
It's
distracting
very distracting.
to who you're with, and like you said, even your partner. So you put it in the other room because it is distracting. It's something that takes away, and a lot of people don't understand, like, you have to be intentional. Like you said, like, you move with intention. If you move with intention, everything in your life, like, you will feel so fulfilled in a way, because you're doing what you can. And I think intention, I've at least been trying to implement it myself and just be intentional with everything that I do and, like, not use the time to not be intentional, because it's a waste of time if it doesn't align with what, you're trying to do. And being intentional in terms of stepping away is also a good thing, because now you're not burning out or hurting your relationship or doing something that, is lacking in a sense.
What I would challenge you right now is, like, I'm all about intention. Everything I do, I try to lead with intention. I try to live with intention. But intention is shit if you don't follow it up with action.
True.
Yeah.
And so you could have all the good intentions in the world, but if you don't actually put stuff into motion and execute,
And do it,
your
it's
intention
worth
doesn't
nothing.
matter.
Yeah.
So you have to follow up with consistent, disciplined action with that intention.
Yeah.
Which ultimately is the habits that you are creating,
Yep.
every day. So I think that if you do that, ultimately you win the day because of the habits that you've created and that are intentional with, what you're aligned with in a sense.
Same thing with routine.
Yeah, I think to go off of that into more of like your leadership role, even in the, let's say, the restaurant or anywhere, like, do you do or have things that like are like strong leadership like tactics to be able to sustain like that amount of like employees or things like that? Like, how do you, because we said like you can't push people to do things. But like as a leader, you're trying to, like we said, inspire them. But how do you lead a company without like pushing people and having them?
Yeah, it's a good question. So you lead with the heart, and that's what you have to do. You have to build connections first with your team, and that's where, as a young leader, I failed a lot. I just told you before, when I was 22 years old and I was leading this big company where people were doing this stuff for 20 years, they clearly know more than me in that time.
Yeah.
Right.
Me yelling at them is not going to help them go any faster, do anything. It's not going to help. It's just going to piss them off and be like, F this guy. Who's the new guy?
Yeah.
Right? I learned after failing so many times that you have to build connections first. I mentioned earlier again, the girl on my team, she just lost her grandma.
Yeah.
The next day, that night, I got flowers. I sent them to her house. It's little things like that. You build connections. You show people that you care. So that when they show back up in the workplace, they know you're not just some asshole trying to run your company and make a ton of money.
Yeah, and they
do I want to make a ton of money?
business.
Yeah. I want to make millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Of course I do.
Right.
So do they. They want to make a lot of money too.
Right.
That's not going to happen unless you have a cohesive environment. You got to like who you're working with.
Yeah.
And eventually you could be a high performer, and you could be someone that's achieving and that's just an effort-based person that's crushing it. But if you don't feel connection, if you don't feel fulfillment in what you're doing, that effort, that high performance is eventually going to burn out.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be sufficing to the atmosphere that you're in anymore.
Right.
So what I would tell you as a leader that's looking to drive sales, that's looking to drive more productivity out of your team, is build connections first. Lead with love, lead with the heart. Show them you're real. Don't show them I'm the boss and you do this because I said so.
Right.
You do it alongside them. You'll never hear me say my staff, my employees. Never. I will never utter those words. Oh, my staff, you're going to do this. Oh, I'm your boss.
Yeah.
Never. It's my team. Right? I'm a
You're on the
coworker.
team.
We're all on the same team here.
Yeah.
And so it's the language you use, the way you speak to people is what really matters.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think in a sense you said like you're working alongside your team, and I think people fail to forget that, like the leaders like just like stop working and think that like they're just going to build their business on their own while their employees just build it up for them. Right. And that's not how it works. And I think, I don't know if you can, but if you think it's possible, but can you build yourself while leading? Or do you think that like you have to build yourself first and then lead, if that makes sense?
Build yourself in what sense?
So like, let's say you're building, I don't know, let's say you're sales, you do sales. Like, can you start your sales job and do a team at the same time? Or should you start by building, learn how to do it, then go lead?
I'm someone that believes you have to do things first in order to lead. Okay. So I was mentioning, you can't speak on something you don't know anything about. I'm not going to go to a trainer to try and get a six pack and be all jacked up from a guy who's 50 pounds overweight.
Right.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because he's not living the life that I want to, do. Right. So I do believe you can build yourself while building a team and leading a team. I think it's actually necessary, but not if you don't have some experience along the way. If you were to ask Dave or me this question, hey, what is ACE? And this was a year and a half ago when we were starting the company. We're going to tell you it's this unbelievable leadership development company, and we've got the best stuff ever. We're the most premier this and that. Just the cream of the crop. Yeah. We had nothing when we put that out into the world. We had zero. Yeah. But we both did have a ton of leadership experience. We both have led other individuals, other companies. Yeah. We've done the work. We've failed a lot. Yeah. We've dealt with these problems that other guys are struggling with. So now we have some experience here. We have some ground to stand on, right? Of course, and experience is the best teacher.
Oh, of course.
So, a lot of people don't feel qualified to talk on stuff. A lot of people don't feel like they're worthy of, being in a leadership position or qualified to do insert blank. Yeah. Experience is the best qualification.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that like one thing that like I want to do, like how would you fail faster to be able to have ground to stand on for somebody who wants to get there. But like for us, like I would love to open a community to help people and to be able to, you know, obviously not knowing what that looks like exactly yet, but like on Long Island, just for like, you know, people to come to network, high end, you know, just like individuals who want to develop themselves, personal development. But like, how do you, like you said, you failed
like
so many times. Where do you fail faster to get there?
You learn from others. And so for me, I was the guy that had to drag myself through the mud in every situation. A lot of the times I still do it, and it's not the best way to learn. I'll tell you that. I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks. I almost got kicked out of college twice for fighting. I've had panic attacks that ended me up in the hospital multiple times.
Yeah.
All this stuff. I've put a lot of self-inflicted adversity on myself, and that was the way that I learned.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Everyone
do
learns
that.
different. Yeah.
You don't have to do that. You've got podcasts. You've got, like, if anyone's sitting here listening to what I'm talking about, listen to my failures and say, oh man, what an idiot. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Let me just go
Okay.
a different way.
Yeah.
You've got so much stuff you can take from the internet. You know, you could have people that you can learn from.
Right.
And you never will meet that person.
Yeah.
One of my biggest mentors is Ed Milet. I'll meet him one day. I'll be on a stage with him. I've never met him yet.
Yeah.
I learn from him a couple
He doesn't
times a
know who
week.
I am,
Yeah.
You know, so other people's struggles can be a teacher for you.
Okay.
So if you want to get to a certain place faster, find someone that's been down that path before and
And is doing
use their failures. Exactly.
Okay. Sounds good. Because I've always been interested because, you know, like I feel like, not that I'm not failing, but like you know,
Like, we
obviously
do a lot,
nobody
but, like,
wants to fail, but we do so much. But like, where do you go when you're not failing, essentially, but you want to continue going?
You can
It's
get
hard.
there. You can get there faster though.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where, you know, the smart people in today's day and age will
Yeah.
go is they'll go to the information. They'll go to the books, the podcasts, you know, they'll seek people that are doing stuff at a
In that
high
field,
level
yeah.
and say, how do you get here? You have to seek mentors. You have to seek people that know what they're doing. You know, I didn't just learn all this stuff about business by just becoming a business owner.
Right.
Yeah.
I had to do all this stuff and I had to have a lot of conversations. I had to go to my friend, John Leone, who's been a mentor of mine for like 10 years at this point, and say, dude, I'm at a breaking point in the restaurant right now. What the hell do I do? He's
Right.
owned 3 restaurants before. He's done exactly the predicament I'm in right now. He knows what works, what doesn't work.
Right.
I can go to him and say, dude, before I screw this up big time,
How?
which way should I
Yeah.
go here? You know, and you get that guidance and you take that and you apply it to your situation.
Yeah.
Which I think is important to have like people around you, like you said, that done it before, because it's like it helps that much better, you know. So and I feel like the restaurant industry is something. It's its own beast, you know.
Yeah.
Like you can't. Not that you can't run an absentee restaurant, but it's very hard to run
Yeah,
an
totally.
absentee restaurant with not being there. How do you do it with running your 2 other companies?
I mean, I'll be totally honest. Like the restaurant takes up the bulk of
bulk of your time.
my time, my thoughts, like it takes
Yeah.
up a majority of it. And you know, I'm very fortunate the timing of all this stuff because the commercial cleaning company was that for a long time.
Okay.
So I
Sick.
built that
Yeah.
to the point where now
Now.
it's in a good place. You know, now I have a team that can run the show there, and all I got to do is check in on my certain systems, check in on my managers, my team, and say, all right, this is going smooth. Like, where do you need support? What do I got to do for you here?
Right.
It's not that much effort at this point. You know, I'm able to build ACE alongside the restaurant because I make time for it.
Yeah.
I create scheduled
Time
time.
blocking
And
things, yeah.
for me, ACE is personal development for myself. It's not just building
Right.
a business for other people.
Exactly.
It helps me in
Yeah.
return. You know, I need to do the self-reflection.
priority.
I need to do it exactly.
Right.
You know, it's something that's important to me. So, you know, there's priorities in life, and
Right.
people will always lose sight of them. They naturally will.
Yeah.
You'll naturally lose sight of your priorities if you're not checking in. You know, for me, I have to check in and see where I'm scoring on the leaderboard of my own life
Yeah.
every day. I have to say, all right, yesterday I failed a little bit, and I'm actually speaking right now. Yesterday,
Yeah.
I failed a little bit. I was down on myself. I had a really tough day. I dealt with some really difficult customers. I had just really some
Especially in
bad
the food
situations, and
industry.
I handled all of them very well. But I got home, and I'm like, Jackie, I am beat up.
Yeah.
I was emotionally drained. I wasn't myself when I got home, and I failed in a sense there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but I woke up today and I said, yesterday I probably scored like a B on my leaderboard of life. Did I do really well today? I did okay. I
Yeah.
failed here. I did well at this. Tomorrow when I wake up, I have a choice.
Yeah.
Do I want to do this again? Do I want to be the same sad, down on myself type of person? Or do I want to make that choice and say, be better today?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is strong. And I like that idea of like the leadership board, because you could score yourself and like help yourself along the way. I know that you mentioned kind of like you use ACE to like fill your cup essentially to be able to, personally develop yourself. Is there like a routine that you do every day, whether that's morning or night routine, that like fills your cup so that you're able to pour into all of your employees?
Mike, can you throw me my phone? I'm going to read you guys something quick. Toss it. Thanks. So the background of my phone, I don't know if you can see here. The background of my phone, I have this in my bathroom on my wall. And it's from Robert Ward. And I heard this originally from Inky Johnson. So he says, I read this every single morning. As soon as I get up, before I even brush my teeth, anything. I wish you the courage to be warm when the world would prefer that you be cool. I wish you success sufficient to your needs. I wish you failure to temper that success. I wish you joy in all your days. I wish you sadness so that you may better measure joy. I wish you gladness to overbalance your grief. I wish you humor and a twinkle in your eye. I wish you glory and the strength to bear its burdens. I wish you sunshine on your path and health to carry you on your journey. I wish you peace in the world in which you live and in the smallest corner of your heart where truth is kept. I wish you faith to help define your living and your life. More I cannot wish you, except perhaps love to make all the rest worthwhile. Every single morning I read that. That every morning is something that grounds me. That's something that I say, you know what? I'm going to fail today. I'm going to love today. I'm going to laugh today. I'm going to do all the above, but what it all comes back down to is love, right? I can't do nothing if I don't have love in my heart. And so that every morning, along with prayer, my meditation, my physical activity, my workouts, all that stuff is what fills my cup up on a daily basis.
Which is really cool, because I think even like we talked about intention, like that is like the epitome of intentional, looking at your phone, or you said it's in your bathroom.
I printed it out and I have it on my wall every morning.
There, and like that is, even your phone, you look at it mostly throughout the day, you're on it and you still see it, even if it's not in your bathroom, even if it's not the first thing when you get up, like you're still looking at it day in and day out, which is, I think, the epitome of intentional.
And I'm a person that, like, I'm a very visual person. So, like, I'm a very weird dude. Like, I love art. I love animals. Like, I love weird shit. And in my office at the restaurant, I've got a big-ass poster, and it's of DMX. It's a hand-painted thing. It's dope. And it's got all these little quotes from these songs that I love. And it's little things that I take, and I play from a very young age. I've been obsessed with DMX. And he was someone that when I was struggling in bad times in my life, I would listen to him. I would listen to his albums and all this stuff, and he got me through a lot of difficult times. I've got quotes on my wall from Theodore Roosevelt. I've got all this stuff that I have to flood my brain with because you're influenced by your circumstances, your outcome, your environment. Like all that stuff plays a role. The music you listen to, and I'm not saying DMX is always the right one to listen to, but all this stuff plays a role. So I'm very intentional with the things that I keep around me, the people that I keep around me. I've got guys like Mike Press. I got guys like Dave, like Joe K, Nick Menente. Even my family members, my fiance. Like these are all positive people in my life, and I've had to cut a lot of people out of my life because they were bringing me down. So I would just urge people to be very intentional, be very aware of your surroundings, your environment, and even down to the fact of like what's on the wall, like because it does influence you.
Which is strong, because even we were listening to Josh Goldley today. He's like a fitness trainer online, and he was saying that it's actually better to have no people around you than the people who are influencing you badly. And I think that when you're trying to get rid of those negative people, it's so hard to find the better people. And I think you have to get rid of them and be alone for a little while before you find those better people. And I think maybe that's where people struggle to be alone. Because they're alone and they don't know how to get those better surroundings and that better network around them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're going to attract whatever you are feeling internally, whatever you're putting out into the world, you're going to attract that. So if you're surrounded by negative people, you're probably in turn going to be a little negative.
Right.
You're going to put that into the world and you're going to attract more negative people.
Yeah.
If you decide to wake up every day and read a quote like that and you say, all right, I'm going to wake up and be positive. I'm going to lead with love. I'm going to lead with intention. I'm going to put a smile on my face. I'm not going to be nasty. I'm not going to be short with people. You're going to eventually attract positive people. You're going to attract people that are meant for you and on that path that you're traveling down.
Yeah, which I think is strong just because the relationships that you have could take you like that much.
Anywhere and everywhere.
Your community is everything.
Yeah, then you can. And you could probably attest like to that as well. Like the people that you're around, like even if you're going to a networking thing, you can essentially use ACE as a networking thing. And I'm sure the people within it are doing business now because
lots of business. Yeah.
They're just within that community. You guys are all trying to get better.
Everyone
so why
wants to
not?
elevate.
We all have the same mentality.
And that's an environment that, I mean, we're very intentional about that too, is like, we'll speak on this like very just bluntly to people. We're like, hey, this guy does real estate. This guy's a lawyer. This guy's a physical therapist. This guy owns a gym. Go buy from them. Go do theirs. Like if you need the service, why would you go to someone else?
Right.
Support that person in the network. Support that person in the group because eventually it's going to actually come back around to you. You don't want to do it with that intention.
No, of course not.
If you do that, you support other people, they end up supporting you. I can't tell you how many times I've helped other people and they eventually have a birthday party at the restaurant or they do this, they do that, and it comes back to me. I don't do the good act to get that in return. You never should do that. You don't do something good and expect something in return.
Right.
But if you continuously do that, it will come back tenfold most of the time.
Yeah, I think that's strong. But we talked about that. Like a lot of people do it today, like to like
post on social media
that they did something good in it, and sometimes it's just like just do it for the good in your heart, and you felt good about doing it. You know,
totally.
Like, I was telling Tori the other day, and I don't want to boast about it, but there was this little old lady and she was at the post office and I was putting my mail in the box and she pulled up and I just walked over. I was like, you want me to put that in the box for you? Just so that she didn't have to get out, walk all the way over there. Probably would have took her 10 minutes. Took me a half a second to get over there and put the mail in the box, and I said to Tor, like, she looked at me and she was like, God bless, have a great day. And I just felt like good about myself. I was like, like that's, especially like for her, like she was probably like a little like church lady, and she just like, it made me like feel so like whole, like I did it for my grandma, you know? And I told Tor at the end of the day, but I feel like so many people like will pay for the person's coffee behind them and like post it on social media. And like, I just feel like it's so good to just feel that sometimes, like it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. My father was like the definition of that. Like he was everything about living a life of service. And we learned so much more after he passed away, but he was a lifetime blood donor for the New York Blood Association, Red Cross, whatever it was. I can't remember the thing. And they said he was like in the top like 1% of blood donors in New York State.
Oh my gosh.
There was this church that he used to donate to like every month, and like we do not come from a wealthy upbringing at all. We're middle class, lower middle class. But he would make sure he put money aside and he would do that, every month consistently.
And nobody knew.
Nobody knew. My dad saved a girl's life on the train tracks. My 21st birthday, she had an epileptic, I can't speak, seizure. And she fell onto the train tracks. Nobody was around. He was the only guy there. He jumped on the train tracks and no joke, less than 2 minutes, the train was coming. And she was like laid out, like done.
Jeez.
And she had the seizure on the tracks and she was down there. My dad had just had knee surgery and he ended up jumping down and he picked her up, took her off the tracks, saved her, got her to the ambulance, the cops called, all this stuff. Didn't say a word and he just goes into the city. 6 p.m. comes and the police chief from my town calls my house phone and he's like, Noreen, my mother, Noreen, like, is Jack home? I just want to talk to him about what happened today. And my mom's like, what are you talking about? He didn't even tell her. He just went to work after. He's like, oh, this is just, but that's just who he was, and every day I try to meet those expectations. I try to, if I could get halfway along the way that he was in that realm of life, then I'm doing okay.
Right. Which is really cool. I think that's, and it makes you feel good. It makes you, smile and bring joy to your face every day, knowing that you like helped somebody, that's somebody's family,
Totally.
And if they were there at that point, they would have helped them, but they weren't. So having somebody, if only, half the people in the world were like that, we'd be in a better place. But I feel like if you were to have one message and you wrote it on a mirror and it was blasted out to every mirror in the world for everybody to see, what would it be?
Everything worthwhile is uphill. Plain and simple. Anything you do in life is going to be an uphill battle. And that's a John Maxwell quote. And he's another one of the GOATs that I'm obsessed with and that I've learned from. He's another mentor that I've never met, and someone that I learn daily from. Everything worthwhile is uphill. So whatever you're doing in life, it's going to be hard. If you want to do something that's of value, that's of great impact, it's going to be uphill. If you want to live a shitty life, it might not be uphill.
Right.
You might be able to just coast through.
Yeah.
But if you want to do something that's important, that helps other people, that impacts other people, it's going to be an uphill battle. So that mirror, blast it out to the world. Everything worthwhile is uphill.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one. I like that one. Anything else you want to ask? Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Hope that you guys learned a lot of leadership tools and just daily life, really. Just be intentional with what you're doing, and everything will come to you if you're intentional about what you're doing. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Twins out.